All right, we are, and welcome everyone listening to this. This is our interview with Roy Payan, right?
Payan.
Payan. Okay, I'm sorry,
Yes. It's all
butchered
right.
your last. This is
It's
terrible.
all right.
This
It's all
is
right.
this is my first time doing this, guys. So I don't know, but we have Roy Payan. Um, Today with me, I'm Ricardo Salazar. I'm the president of the American Council of Blind Students. And well, today we're gonna have an interview with this pretty amazing advocate in our community. Um, and well, I want to say thank you so much for allowing me to interview you and for our members like to listen and to learn from you, Roy, because I think your story is extremely important and especially in our times. Before we dive into any questions and anything related to our main topic, I just want to ask you, how are you today?
I'm doing fine, thank you. I'm really excited because we're entering into a new era in disability rights in which we've got to activate our members and say, hey, you can't do this to us. We're going to stand up for our rights and we're going to fight for our rights and to maintain and advance our causes. It's important for us to know that, you know, the times that we're living in are very dangerous to us because there's an effort to minimize what little rights we have already, what little
Mhm.
accomplishments we have. And my thing is, no, we're going to protect those rights. We're going to protect our accomplishments thus far, and we're going to advance them even more. For doing what you're doing right now to us, understand it inspires us. It lights a fire under us to say, no, we're going to move forward, period.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And well, before we dive into the harder or the tougher questions,
Mhm,
can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, who you are,
mhm.
what organizations you're a part of, and like and just a little bit about yourself and maybe your hobbies, who knows? Because like we want to know about you as well. We want to know about the
Okay,
person behind the advocate.
sure.
So just share as much as you want here. I'm not gonna tell you to share personal stuff if you don't want to, but like
That's
just
all right.
tell us just tell us a bit about yourself.
So again, my name is Roy Payan, and I'm half American Indian and Mexican American.
Oh.
I'm what they used to call a half breed. So
Mm.
father's side were Tohono O'odham Apache, which is an indigenous tribe, and my mom is Mexican American. She's from Texas, so both my parents are native, are they're um,
Wow.
Americans. But I grew up in Northern California in a small farm next to an Indian reservation, and so because it was a small farm, there was we had a large family. There was eight of us, and so we grew up, on a country farm with no running water and no
Wow.
electricity.
Wow.
Yeah, so and it was not that long ago, guys. People think that no, it's not. When you live in the country, that's how you are, And so, I grew up with that, but I didn't mind it because it taught us a lot. And then I moved to the city when I was about 12 or 13, and if you can imagine, I'd never been to a mall.
Hmm.
I'd never seen a building taller than 3 stories. I'd never been to a theater. I never
Hmm.
lived next door to anybody. So
Wow.
when I come here, all of a sudden people live right next door to each other, like a couple of feet. And that to me was strange. It's like I'd never I'd never experienced that. So, it took some adjustment for me. And then I went to junior high school and high school here. And then after I graduated, I joined the service. And once I joined the service, I went overseas. I actually had never intended to join service. I was dating this girl, and in my first year in college, she dumped me. And so, in
Oh,
an effort to get away from her, said I don't want to be around her. I don't want to see her. So, I saw a recruiter one day on campus, and I went and talked to him. And next thing I know, I'm off. I'm off to see the world.
wow.
Yeah. So I got injured after 9/11. I was shipped off overseas, and um, I got injured overseas. I was a victim of an IED, so I got shrapnel on my side. I got my my right pinky finger was taken off with a sledgehammer, and I was blinded. So I came back injured, trying to figure out what do I do. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do now. You know, I had planned to retire from the service, and now all that was gone. So I kept thinking, what do I do now?
Mm-hmm.
So as I returned, then I started thinking, well, my life is over. And then one day some friends came up and said, hey, stupid, stop acting like that. You're not dead, you're alive still. You just lost your sight. You know, this is not what we trained for. Get back into living. So they convinced me to get back into living. And the first thing I did was I signed up for school. So I
Mm-hmm.
joined the small community college in Los Angeles called the Los Angeles Community College, and it's part of the Los Angeles Community College District. So
Mm-hmm.
that's 13 campuses. Anyway, what else? I do like I love rock climbing. It's one of my favorite hobbies. I like rock climbing because it's a good sport. It builds you up, keeps you pretty well balanced, and it teaches you how to use all your muscles in your body. And I think most people don't know that women make better rock climbers than guys
Oh,
because
wow.
us guys, we're kind of dumb when we're climbing. We try to show it off, so we use our arms and our chest, right? But
Mm-hmm.
that's the wrong way to climb. You're supposed to use
Oh.
your legs and your butt. So that's why
Oh.
women who climb, they're so much better than us because they use the muscles that God gave them. So no, I'm gonna push up with my legs and my butt, and I'll use my arms just to hold on. That's the way you're supposed to do it. So women make a lot better climbers than guys. That's why when you go to a rock climbing gym, you'll see these girls with amazing bodies. You go, oh my God, how'd she do it? Well, because she rock climbs.
Oh my
And then
God.
I like surfing. Surfing is a pretty awesome sport also. Surfing and swimming. So both of those in California we have a blind surfing team, and then we also have a blind dragon boat racing team. So it's
Oh,
those are all
wow.
teams
Yeah.
that will work you out and work you out good. And because again we're all in the same boat. We're all blind or legally blind. And
That is so cool. How do you serve as a blind person? I want to know that. I've never heard of
oh,
that.
so there in California, there's a couple of guys that teach blind surfing. Believe it or not.
Oh.
So they get out there and they put you on these special boards. The boards that we use are a little bit wider than regular boards.
Hmm.
That way you have more of a balance, and then that way
Right.
you can just see on because a regular board is very narrow. So when you get on there, you're likely to tip it over and stuff. But on a blind board, it's wider, so you have more width that you can stand on.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I've never heard of that. That's so interesting.
When you
Honestly,
come to,
like,
if you ever come to California, let me know. I'll take you
oh
surfing
yeah,
or
definitely.
rock climbing. You
I
like rock
plan
climbing?
to. Yeah, I'm not, well, I don't know about that,
You know,
but
rock climbing is actually fun because people say, "Well, um, I'm scared." It's like, so what? I'm scared too. I jump out of airplanes and helicopters. I'm scared too, but it's awesome when you climb, and then when you get to the top, you have this exhilaration. I mean, your endorphins, your we call are just shooting up, and you come down and you're high from it. And go, damn, I want to do that again. And so once you do the first one, you want to do it more and more and more.
Oh God. Yeah, we'll see about that. But and also and what organizations are you part of? Because I know you're part of a few. Where I think when I
Yeah.
emailed you the first time, you
Mhm.
told me you were part of a few things, a few organizations. Like, oh wow, he's
Yeah.
pretty active in his community. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I do quite a bit. So, in my community, I live in Montecito Heights. It's a small community in
Hmm.
Los Angeles. I'm a president of the Montecito Heights Improvement Association. I'm also on what's called the Royal Seco Neighborhood Council. So the neighborhood council is councils throughout the city of Los Angeles. We have 99 councils throughout the city of Los Angeles. We're part of the city council, and then remember you have to be elected to that council. You can't just
Mm,
join. So you have to be elected by the
wow.
community. So I've been there for 3 years now, and then we
Hmm.
do a lot of community work and a lot of different things. This last week, actually for the last 2 months, I was working and trying to convince the neighborhood council because the majority of the neighborhood council here that I'm in is white,
Oh,
and I happen to be one of the only people of color in there.
wow.
So my thing is help me help my community.
And
Look,
blind as well. That's
I'm blind,
wow.
exactly. So my thing is,
Yeah.
I've got people in my community who are disabled. I've got people in my community who are immigrants, who are undocumented. They're not working. They're
Hmm.
being harassed by ICE. I've got people in
Hmm.
my community who are federal workers that have been laid off. That they don't have money. People who in my community who receive SNAP benefits. They're suffering. They need food. So about 5 months ago, 6 months ago, the local school started calling and saying, "Boy, we need help. Can you get the neighborhood council to donate some funds for us to get food for our families?" So I said, you know what, I'll do
Wow.
better.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go get the food myself. And if people want to give me money, they'll give me money, but I'm gonna get the food myself. So that's what I started doing is I started going and buying food. Whatever was on special, I'd buy. If not, I would I would go to these different food distribution places. I'd get the food, bring it back to school, say, here, you guys distribute it to the families. And they would tell me, well, do you want the name? I said, I don't want their names, I don't want their addresses, I don't want anything. Because if something happens and ICE comes to me because we're part of the neighborhood council, I have to disclose my records, and I don't want to do that. I don't
Yeah.
want to endanger them like that. So I'll give you the food anonymously. You distribute it anonymously. You
Mm-hmm.
call the families, and that's how I'll protect them. So that's what we did.
Wow.
And the families are grateful when they come. They want to kiss me and hug me. Say,
That is, oh my God.
you
It
don't need to
is,
do that. Just
yeah.
say thank you. And then some part of that, I'm also president of what's called the Northeast Los Angeles Save Our Undeveloped Lands. So I work with indigenous tribes to and people and other organizations to help preserve all the open spaces we have because in my point of view, we need more open spaces to protect lands to be converted into parks
Mm-hmm.
for low income families. And in Los Angeles, um, a large community that's pretty park poor. And so when you have communities that are park poor, that affects their health because you have a very low tree canopy, which
Mm-hmm.
increases the heat island effect, which increases maladies in respiration and
Yes.
asthma
Air
and everything.
quality. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So my thing is let's protect these air spaces. Or open spaces. Let's plant more trees. Um, let's make them within walking distance of communities, so that way they don't have to poor families don't have to travel long. It's right there for their families to enjoy. And so it's also part of the indigenous ecosystem where we have to protect our wildlife.
Mm-hmm.
Because to me, and again, this is going to my indigenous roots when we restore our hillsides with native California vegetation,
Mm-hmm.
that brings back wildlife like hares, rabbits, possums, raccoons, birds, all kinds of stuff. So I get complaints every week that coyotes are, oh, the coyotes are in my backyard. They're looking for my cat. They're looking for my dog. Well, the reason why is because we took away all their habitat.
Their
And that's
habitat, correct. Yeah,
when
their
we
their natural
restore their
habitat. Mm-hmm.
exactly. So if we restore their habitat and all these animals come back, guess what? Now they've got their own food. They don't need your dog or cat. But
Wow.
that's what we have to do. So my thing is to teach indigenous horticulture so that way that can spread and then that way we can restore their habitat. Because right now, for the last, I guess, 5 decades, um, people were moving towards Eurocentric horticulture techniques, and those don't work here. They may work in Europe,
Oh,
but this is not here.
not in,
This is
yeah.
California.
Mm-hmm.
We're more of a desert climate, so we have to practice indigenous horticulture techniques. The indigenous tribes here were here 5, 10,000 years before we came. They knew how to survive,
Exactly.
and
Mm-hmm.
that's what we have
That
to get
is,
back to. Because
wow.
when we don't do that, what happens is that when we don't do that, then we allow developers to come in and start impacting our communities. And when they do that, if the developers will impact our communities because what they do is by their development, um, the very nature is that they kill off wildlife and they kill off a lot of our vegetation. So then our hills are then covered with dry brush. So last January, if you noticed, we had huge fires in California because of dry brush. And it
Mm-hmm.
destroys homes every year, destroys lives every year because of dry brush. Dry brush that's caused by development. And people have got to understand
Wow.
there's smart development and there's bad development. That is bad development.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Our thing is again, let's return to indigenous horticulture techniques because once we eradicate the dry brush and plant in um, indigenous plants, then that begins to restore the wildlife, but it also protects our hillsides from fires.
Mm-hmm.
So again, and then so that's that group is called Nila Soul, Northeast Los Angeles Save Our Undeveloped Lands. And then I'm also vice president of the Poder y Movimiento Latino,
Mm-hmm.
which is an affiliate of the National Federation of the Blind. So this is the first Latino led group in the NFB that I know of. We've never had
Oh.
representation in the NFB, especially in California. My thing is, why would we not have any representation here? Because again, California is a primarily Latino state.
I
So it's
know.
surprises to me that
Yeah.
we don't have any representation.
Wow, that's surprising
And
to hear to me, honestly.
right, isn't it? And I keep thinking, why don't we have? So my thing is, I've joined this group and I've been here now 1 year. My thing is to raise the funds to be able to get our members to Washington, to get our members to the state convention, to the national convention, and make our voices heard and say, no, listen, there's certain policies that we want implemented to help Latino blind students, Latinos in general, because again, there's um there's a lot of things that happen within the Latino community that people just don't know about. For instance, the last 2 years, I've been helping Latinos here in California who, believe it or not, are farm workers. And because they're farm workers, a lot of them sometimes they get diabetes and they go blind, and then they're left
Mhm.
out in the fields with nothing, nothing.
Wow. Yep. Yep.
Imagine you're a farm worker, you're in your 20s, 30s, you get diabetes, you don't even know you have diabetes, and then one
Mm-hmm.
day you go blind, and now you're stuck in the middle of a field, no home, no food, no water. How do you survive? And
Mm-hmm.
then trying to get that person into a homeless shelter, it's been a struggle for me. So it's like, no, I need to change these policies. These policies have got to change. So I've been I've been working with the local governments, the governor's office, the county supervisors, uh, different congressmen within our districts, and to change those policies to be able to give these poor Latinos who are blind some services and get them, to be treated like humans. Because again, housing and food are human rights. We have
Mm-hmm.
to, yeah. And so they've got to. So I have to constantly advocate for these guys and threaten shelters. If you don't take them, I'm going to sue you. What do you mean you're going to sue
Mm-hmm.
us? Yes, under Title II, Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act, I will sue you because when you
Mm-hmm.
offer that service to a regular person, you've also got to offer that service to a disabled person. And so they
Mm-hmm.
don't know this until they look me up. Then they're like, "Oh shit, you're serious?" Yes, I'm serious. You know,
Wow,
challenge me, and we'll see. And then all of a sudden they change their mind. So that's been quite a bit. So I've had to help a couple of blind workers, field workers get into housing. And then in Los Angeles, I've got also a number of students here that are blind that are also homeless. And the shelters here challenged me. And I said, all right, let's go to court. And then all of a sudden they're changing their mind. So that's
yeah. Wow. And
so
and and is this organization that you're part of
mm.
Poder y Movimiento Latino, is it only in Los Angeles or is it a national organization?
No, there's not a national one. I want to create a national one because right now it's only in California. So we
Oh,
represent blind people from San Diego all the way up to Humboldt to the other end of California, but it's
okay.
only in California. So my thing is, let's grow this. Let's make a national movement so we can start. When I was in Texas, there was no Latino representation there at all, and I was
Wow.
like, what the hell?
What the
This
hell?
is this is
Yeah.
Texas. You're right next to the border. What the hell's going
Yeah.
on here?
Yeah.
And that was sad to me because there's representation from a lot of other demographics, but not us. And I'm thinking,
Mm-hmm.
what happened when I was in Orlando, Florida? The same thing. I said,
Nothing,
where are
yeah.
we at?
And I don't think I've heard of anything like that here in Miami. So it's like it could be in Florida, in Texas, in Los Angeles, in California. It's really, I think it's necessary. I didn't know there wasn't a
Right?
thing like that. I thought there was one. Wow, I was
Yeah, no, there's not. And
surprised.
so we need one in
Wow.
California. We need one in Texas, in Nevada, in New Mexico,
New
in Arizona,
York,
New
yeah.
York. Yeah, New York and Florida, especially Florida. It's like what?
Hmm.
So, so my goal is to try to get this one off the ground and then start advocating to get chapters in different places and then advocate for our people to get to the national convention because again we don't have any representation at the national convention. We don't have any
Hmm.
representation at the state convention. So in the last couple of years, I was able to work with the state senators and state assembly people to pass a law here providing Medi-Cal for all. So Medi-Cal for all means that if you're homeless, if you're undocumented, if you're poor, you get Medi-Cal, you get insurance to be able to go to the doctor or to the hospital because
Hmm.
my master's is in public policy. And
Hmm.
so as I reviewed the policies and I reviewed the state statistics, I realized that, you know what? It costs more for our people to end up in hospitals when they're uninsured because
Yes,
they don't go to a clinic, they don't go to a doctor, they go straight to the ER. That costs
correct.
3 to 4 times more. So
Hmm.
wouldn't it make sense to say, hey, let's cut that. Let's provide them medical. That way they can go to a regular doctor for
Hmm.
regular checkups and prevent this. And so that's what I've
Mm-hmm.
been working. So, um, 2 years ago, we were able to finally pass that law. So in California, 2 years ago, they implemented Medi-Cal for all. So now, if you happen to be in Los Angeles or throughout the state of California and you're blind or you're disabled, whether you're documented or undocumented, you get Medi-Cal.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a big
Wow.
achievement for us. And then
Wow.
in 2024, we fought and fought and fought and fought to get the prescription bottles, medicine prescription bottles, to be converted so that they're accessible for people who are blind. So now,
Mm-hmm.
in January 2025, they enacted uh, um, AB Assembly Bill 1902, and 1902 says all pharmacies in California have to provide accessible labels for people who are blind or
Mm-hmm.
reading impaired. So
Mm-hmm.
what they do is when you get your medicine bottle, all you do is put your phone on the counter, pass the bottle over it, and it'll read to you whatever language you want it to read in.
Mm-hmm.
So that was
Okay.
that was a big accomplishment for us. So
Wow.
I'm
Yeah,
working on
no,
different
yeah.
things. So if
Yeah.
you ever go to the market, have you ever been to the market and then like you go to get a piece of fruit or an apple or a tomato and it has a little sticker on there?
Yep.
So there's an organization that's in charge of that. So my thing is I'm trying to get them to help me to make those accessible labels. So that way when you go to the market, you get that fruit, whatever it is, pass it over your phone and it'll tell you tomatoes, 25 cents a pound, whatever.
Right. Like a QR
Right?
code or something like that can tell
Yeah,
you that. Oh,
exactly.
that
And
would
so
be
I mean,
so awesome.
wouldn't it be? And
Wow.
imagine if anything you picked up, a box of cereal, because I go to the market, I see cans, like it's just a can to me. What the hell? So it takes it,
Mhm.
and and for them to say, well, just pass your phone over the barcodes. Like I don't even know what the hell the barcode is, but if they put that label on the bottom of the can, I know where the bottom of the can is. So
Mhm.
that's the thing, is to teach them how to make things accessible for us who are visually impaired and blind, who are low vision, people who are reading disabled. Because again, it's not only people who are blind or low vision, it's people with autism, people who are suffering from what is macular degeneration,
Yeah,
diabetes.
learning disabilities. Yeah, you
Yeah,
can. Yeah, no, this is
exactly.
absolutely amazing. You are a very versatile advocate, Roy. Honestly, it's
Thank you.
very commendable, and I want to thank you also to help, like, for helping my community. Like, I'm Latino, I'm Hispanic, I'm Venezuelan. So
Hmm.
what you're doing, I'm sure you're helping so much, like, my community, and overall, this is really commendable, especially in our times right now where it seems like you're being attacked, like they're being attacked like left and right. It's
Yeah.
our communities. It's just it's this is really important, and I want to thank you for that.
Well,
Before
thank you.
before we dive into these questions, but now let's talk about our questions for today.
Hmm.
Since I know it's gonna take some time. Um, and I mean, you don't have to, talk about the whole case because, I provided actually sort of a news article about it. So we don't have to
Hmm.
go over it overall because that's going to take like another whole 30 minutes to an hour
Right.
because it's a
Yeah.
lengthy case. But, no, like, so let me ask you. So let me, hold on, let me go looking back at the beginning of
Hmm.
your struggle, what was the moment that you realized that the barriers that you faced weren't just individual obstacles, but like symptoms of, a systemic, you can tell, yeah, systemic or like a failure affecting like, more people, more blind people or low vision people across that college. Like, how was that? Like, when did you realize that?
Well, as I joined the college, like I said, I began to realize that, hey, this website doesn't work. And I would ask, why? Oh, okay, we'll get somebody to help you. Well, how come I can't register on my own? Oh, well, you'll have to get somebody to help you. When I'd go to class, it's like, sir, you're handing me a printout. You know I can't read it. That's not my problem. Well, yes, it is, because you're required to give it to me in a digitized format. No, I'm not. Go ask the Office for Students with Disabilities. And it wasn't just me, it was systemic. So
Hmm.
as I began to talk to other blind students and other people with disabilities, they would tell me the same thing. And remember, the the campus that I was going to was directly across the street from the Braille Institute. So
Wow,
you have to
ironic.
You have to know that there's people coming out of the Braille Institute that are going to try to go into college. And so the that was offensive to me that we have the Braille Institute across the street and you're not even making an effort. And so a lot of professors, a lot of the deans had taken this attitude of, we don't really want you here. You're taking up space, you're taking up, and you're not really welcome. And that was their attitude towards people with disabilities, not just myself, but I mean, a lot of us. And
Mhm.
so as I began to face that over and over and over again, then I began to say, wait a minute, there's a culture of discrimination here against people like me, against
Mhm.
um, people who are disabled, people who are not 18 years old coming back to school. There's a culture
Mhm.
of discrimination against us just because of who we are, period. They
Mhm.
had tested my abilities, so they didn't know what my abilities are. And so for them to discriminate against me just like that, it was just really offensive to me to the point where in one class, one professor, actually a couple of professors just really said offensive things to me, but they would tell me to my face. One professor said in a statistics class, my first day, she said, "Why are you here? Nobody wants you here. Stay
Mhm.
home and watch TV. You're never going to do anything with your life. Just stay home. You're not wanted." And I kept telling her, "Ma'am, I, I have every right to be here." She kept telling me, "No, you don't. Look around. Nobody wants you here. Just stay home. You're not going to do anything with your life anyway. Stay home. You're not wanted here." I said, "Ma'am, I've earned my right to be here." She was like, "No, you haven't. Look around. Nobody wants you here. You guys are just a waste of time for us. You're a waste of time and money for us." And I kept thinking, and I think she didn't know. In fact, I didn't even know at the time. But when she spoke those words to me, she activated a fire in me that said, if that's what you want to do, then guess what? You just woke up a dragon. I'm going to fight and I'm going to fight back. If you think this is a game to me, watch. So
Wow.
she called this deputy. The deputy came. I got into it with him. His sergeant showed up, and then the sergeant finally said, "You know what, sir? I don't know what to go talk to your dean and your chair of this department and find out what he can do for you." I said, "All right, fine." So I went to talk to the dean and the chair, and they said, "Well, what do you want us to do?" I said, "Fix it. You need to fix this discrimination. Nothing works here because of you guys. You guys bought books that you know are not accessible for us. You guys do PowerPoints that are not accessible for us. You get money, you get funding from the ADA. Why aren't you doing anything to fix this?" And his response to me was, "There's nothing I can do." Yes, there
Mhm.
is. Contact the publisher, tell them you want a book that's accessible. We're not going to do that. Why not? Well, because I can't do that.
Yeah.
What? So then he said, "Well, what do you want me to do?" And again, fix it. So he says, "You know what? Well, I'm going to be honest." I said, "What's going on?" He says, um, "You're welcome to sue." No, yeah, he says, "There's not enough of you to warrant a change.
Mhm.
There's not enough of me, enough veterans, or enough blind people. It's either one." I said, "It doesn't matter if there's one of us. You're required to make it accessible." So he said, "Well, you're welcome to sue, but even if you sue, I'm not going to give you what you want." I said, "Okay, watch me." "What do you mean?" I said, "Watch me." So he said, "What does that mean?" I said, "I'm going to leave out of here. I'm going to sue you. I'm going to sue this department. In fact, I'm going to sue the entire community college board district. You want to fight? Let's fight." So I walked out, and
Mhm.
that's what I did. And so,
Wow.
as I walked out, it was a pretty lonely start for me because nobody wanted to join me. Nobody, and they kept saying, "No, no, man, that's too much, and we don't have this. It's not going to cost anything. Let's look for an attorney who can help us." And so they just didn't want to help me, even though it was impacting them. They didn't want to step up to fight the fight for themselves. So I
Mhm.
said, "Okay, then I'll do it on my own," and
Wow.
that's what I did. And it was pretty
Wow.
long because then the school took a stance about, don't hang out with him because he's bad. He's just trying to start trouble. And my thing is, I'm trying to help you guys. I'm trying to help all of us. And they kept saying, "Well, if you get money, how much are you going to give us?" Like, this is not about money.
Wow.
This is not about money to me at all. Have you seen? I'm filing this lawsuit. I never asked for one penny because this is not about money to me. This is about fixing this system so that it works for every other student that comes after me. Because I'm going to graduate, and once I graduate, I'll be out of the system. So it's not gonna benefit me at all. But this is for every blind student that comes after me. that's too timid, too afraid, too scared to stand up to the system. I'm going to do it for them because again, they deserve this. So you got a choice. You want to fight with me, then fight with me, but not stand out of my way because don't get in my way because I'm gonna roll over you. I'm gonna fight this. So that's what I did. And again,
Hmm.
it was very, very lonely, going through because as I went through the lawsuit, as we began, the school, in order to minimize my efforts, some of the blind people that I hung out with, they would say, "Hey, you know what, Ricardo, you need 3 more classes to graduate. Tell you what, we'll give you credit for those 3 classes so you can graduate early." And then Ricardo would
Wow.
say, "Oh, okay, that sounds good." And then they'd move them on. So this way, they would lessen the influence that I had over blind students, and
That
they kept doing
is.
that over and over. But that was pretty insidious to me because it's like, how dare you? You're graduating. That means when that person gets to the next level, they're not going to have the level of education they need. They still need the statistics. They still need English. They still need everything else. And by doing that,
Hmm.
you're just hurting them. You're not benefiting them. You're hurting them. But they didn't care. That's how insidious it
That
is.
is completely evil, and like and I guess you,
Diabolical.
yeah, it's your like the distress that you were put through, with these whatever happened to that professor and to all those professors you told me, and well, during our private conversation, that they said all those nasty things to you. Whatever happened to them? Do you know?
Well, the dean that I met with it told me that I could sue and that he still wasn't gonna. He's now teaching in Thailand because he wasn't able to. They let him go from that's it, and he wasn't able to get a job anywhere else, so he ended up in Thailand. But I'm sure he's probably doing the same thing there. The
Hmm.
professors, I'm not too sure because I was never allowed to go back to the campus, so um, I'm sure that a lot of them were also let go because of this. Because what happened is that in one instance, as a professor was telling me these things, I had my recorder. My recorder was one of the accommodations that was afforded to me, and she insisted that I was not permitted to record. And I told her
Hmm.
that's one of my accommodations afforded to me under the ADA and under Title II, Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act. She says, "No,
Hmm.
then I said yes." So, um, unbeknownst to her, I mean, I showed her the recorder. I had her on. I put her on the table, and she kept talking, and she
Yeah.
kept incriminating herself. So it's like, go ahead. And so that's one of the things that I was able to present to both my attorneys and to the court.
Yep. Exactly. That's it is. Yeah. It's just wow. Like I just can't imagine. And like I don't even know if to call these people professionals or doctors or like professors even. That, come on. Like wow. It's
Right?
a lot. It's
So,
so. But
and
yeah.
you would
Yeah.
think this was way back in the
1960s or the 50s or
right?
something like
Yeah,
that.
this was in
Yeah.
2016,
Yeah.
less
And
than
let
10
me
years
and
ago.
let me tell you, I come from Venezuela,
Hmm.
and there's no ADA there. The only discrimination laws there are very on paper, and they're like for everyone. They're not for like disabled people.
Right,
So, but like it was always up to me to go to the teachers or to the professors or whatever. Well, I wasn't only to high school there because then I moved to the US, but it was just it was up to me to go to them because there was no law or no anything, no like recourse for me to go to,
right.
and they were humans. They were like, we want you to study, we want you to have an education, we're gonna
Mhm.
help you.
Right,
It's something it's just natural, like decency.
right.
But
And
in
there was,
yeah.
to their credit, there were a few teachers that were beautiful. I mean, my psychology
Hmm.
teacher was beautiful. She helped me. Boy, what can I do to help you?
Exactly,
Professor just
but
describe to me what's going on and just give me this stuff in an accessible format. What do you mean? Don't put in a PDF, convert it into a Word document. Okay,
exactly.
that's it.
It's like,
That's it.
but
And
but
then
but but in contrast, like that wild contrast of those other professors who didn't even w-
make
n-
an effort. Yeah,
nothing, like they didn't want to move a finger to help you.
right.
And they were it were an obstacle actually to your education
Yeah,
because they were like, you can't use this, you can. What the heck? That is
yeah. And
wow.
it wasn't only going on to me. It was I had friends who were blind that were in other psychology classes, and one professor actually went to the point of telling my friend, you know, you can be here, but I'm not going to do anything to help you. And she was like,
Hmm.
well, you have to help me. I'm blind. I don't care. I'm not going to do anything. You want stuff converted? Take it to somebody else to convert it. You want help with this? Get somebody else. And she just didn't care. And it's like,
Yeah.
but they were that openly discriminatory against all of us. And that just that just baffled me because I kept thinking, we're not in the 60s here.
Yeah.
You're not fighting racial discrimination. You're fighting disability discrimination. Why are you doing this to us? And so it became apparent to me right from the start that as they did this, a lot of the people who were in school that were disabled, they just dropped out. They just
Wow.
completely dropped out. And then um, a couple of years after that, I began to work with a doctor in I think it was Nebraska, Dr. Lazetta Torres Gerald, and she was working on a book, which they wrote a chapter on me, and it was about discrimination, the intersectionality of discrimination in disabilities uh, and Latinos. And what we discovered through the research was that in schools that were predominantly in low-income communities, communities of color, the schools would do everything they could to take away from your benefits, from your disability rights benefits, um,
Ooh.
your accommodations. But in areas where they were white or they were more um, um, socially economically advantaged, they had all the accommodations they needed, and they were granted them, but
Wow.
not in lower socioeconomic statuses. And that really
Wow.
surprised me. I was like, wow. So the research actually showed that and demonstrates to us that there's a lot of discrimination there, not only because you're disabled, but because of your socioeconomic status and race.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, but what you tell me right now, it kind of answers my second question. Because this case highlights just basically like the long-standing issues with inaccessible course materials and institutional like neglect. But what do you think? I mean, maybe you responded to this already, but you can like dive a little further.
Mhm.
Um, what do you think are the deeper, maybe cultural or the structural attitudes within higher education that allow this these problems to persist for
Well,
for you know
that's funny because I was just talking to a counselor at USC. I graduated from USC. I got my master's at USC, and I'm
Mhm.
going to be working on my doctorate at USC. And so I was talking to the ADA compliance officer at USC, and she asked me something similar to this. So I said, what I've realized is that there's a lot of people who go into education and they say, well, I'll ask them, what's your major? Oh, I'm doing special ed. Oh, that's good. How about disabilities? What do you mean? How about disabilities? Well, I don't need to say that. You should, because you're going to be going into special education. Special education involves persons with disabilities. Oh, yeah, but we don't need to do that. Yes, you do. What do you think special education covers? And so it's become apparent to me over these last 5 or 6 years, special education doesn't really deal with disabilities at all. And in fact,
No.
I'll give you a good example. We're in court, and the school had hired these two specialists that became deans within the school that were special education people. They had one had a doctorate, the other one had a master's in special education. So when they get up there, my attorneys get them up there on the stand, and then they ask them, well, with regards to your education, I have a master's in special education. I have a doctorate in special. Well, that's good. Okay, now going on to your education, how about disabilities? What do you mean? Well, what credentials, what certifications, what degrees do you have in disabilities and disability and accessibility rather? And then they said, um, nothing. Like nothing? No. Do you know what the ADA is? Yes. What credentials do you have uh, or certifications do you have in ADA? Zip. Both of them. They had no idea what the ADA covered. They had no idea about accessibility. They had no idea about
Hmm.
rights. It's like, then what the hell were you studying this whole time? And so they had hired a company to come in to assess the website, the portals, the learning platforms, and the library databases. These are two professionals who are paid by this college system, 13 campuses, to come in and examine the websites, the portals, everything. And yet, they hire this guy. He comes in really arrogant, and then they get him up on the stand. Okay, sir, what do you do? My name is such and such. I've got a master's in computer science. A master's, that's great. Okay, so again, um, with regards to disabilities, what are your credentials with regards to accessibility in computers? What do you mean?
Nothing.
So
I imagine.
then, okay, so what when you're testing the websites and the portals and the library databases for accessibility, what tools or techniques do you use? And this was his exact words in court, mind you, in court. He says, "Well, I just um I just use my keyboard and I close my eyes." What?
Wow.
So then she said, my attorney said, "You close your eyes, you use a keyboard and you close your eyes. What happens when you make a mistake?" "Well, I just open my eyes." "Well,
Hmm.
that's great, but my client doesn't have the ability to do that." "What do you mean?" "They're blind. They don't have the ability to do that." "Do you know
Wow.
what JAWS is?" "No."
Nope.
"You don't know what JAWS is?" "No." Do you know what a screen reader is?" "No." "So then how are you testing for accessibility?" I said, "Just close my eyes." That was it.
Yeah, so what I
So
understand
that
is that is like a persistent attitude of treating disability as an afterthought
exactly.
as
It's
opposed to something that should be kept in mind from the beginning, right?
yeah, and the thing is, it was so insidious to me that I kept thinking, how does this guy think he's a professional? So then the attorney asked, "You stated that you do work for 15 or 16 other campuses, including this one." "Yes." "So can we ask you for the record, what business or what services do you provide to these colleges? What do you do? What's your main area of business?" "Oh, we do advertisement and recruitment." "You do advertisement and recruitment?" "Yeah." "So why would the school hire you to do testing on accessibility for people with disabilities?" "I don't know. They just hired us."
Wow.
And then the judge says, "Okay, that's acceptable." What?
Wow.
Did you just not hear what he said? He didn't
He's
care.
not qualified. They were
He's
not
a Republican judge. He
qualified.
didn't care. It's like,
That is really terrible.
I mean,
That's amazing. That is,
that's how pernicious this system is, where they don't care that they're harming you. They're taking money from the federal government for ADA compliance, and they don't care that they're harming you. They're taking those funds and they're diverting them somewhere else. Because when we went to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals the first time, and the judges asked the attorney for the school, "Why did you have to wait for Payan to file this lawsuit against you to start taking the actions? You get the money every year. If you get the money every year, why are we here? Because you've got money to fix these things. Why are we here? What are you doing with the money?" Crickets.
wow.
Again, you get money every year for this. So if the school's getting the money for services like this every year, what are they doing with those funds? Again, crickets. So she asked the third time, and it became obvious on the third time they were not going to answer that. So they're
Yeah.
taking the funds, they're diverting them for everything else, but they're not using them for us at
It's
all.
total mismanagement, I can tell.
So
And yeah,
if they're
it's
not if they're diverting the funds and not using it for us, that's misappropriation of funds in my book. And
wow.
if you want a new swimming pool, go get funds for a new swimming pool, but don't use our funds. But that's what they're doing.
And who is gonna hold them accountable?
Exactly.
Wow.
Who's gonna? Because the U.S. government doesn't.
Wow.
So that's how insidious this is. That's and I'm
That's
thinking you were hired as the school board to begin to attenuate some of these problems for persons with disabilities like myself, for homeless people, for people who are undocumented immigrants, for LGBT. You have all these programs that you've taken the money and diverted to some of the things. Why? Who gave you authority to do this? And the thing is, they did because they're the school board and they can do what they want.
wow. Well, I love that you're answering multiple of these questions as you're talking, but whatever. I'm just gonna ask this. Probably gonna be repeat, but
Mhm,
so and I kind of asked you before, and you sort of told us about that. So during these legal battles, vote both advocating for yourself and countless other students
mhm.
and like I get and you were facing all these like discriminations and stuff and but how do you balance sort of that emotional toll with all this, like these fights and these, how do you do that? Like because I told you I would not have, I could not imagine myself doing this. It's just you have to be really tough. How do you manage that?
Well, that is a great question, Ricardo. And the thing is that it's not easy. You have to really become tough and stubborn inside to do this. And you have to not be scared to speak up. When they when I hear something that's wrong, I speak up. But one day somebody said something to me, one of my friends in one of my fellowships said something to me, and he said something to me. I like I never thought about thought about it in this manner, but it got to a point where after after I came home, I sat down and I cried, and I
Wow.
kept thinking, shit, he's right. If um if this doesn't go my way, it's going to impact a lot of people. And so what he had said to me, and he said, I'm glad you're being all tough and big and bad, challenging all the schools. But what happens when you lose and they take away everybody's um, disability rights because of you? And I was like, up until then, I'd never really thought about that. And he said, yeah, you're challenging, but you may cost everybody their rights. And I'd never thought about it. And the weight of that just came down
Hmm.
on me. So I was like, crash. I came home and for a good day I cried. I kept thinking, I don't want that guilt on me. I don't want the guilt of I cost everybody their disability rights because I was stubborn in fighting this. So I kept thinking, should do I do I move forward? Do I just
Yeah.
give up or what? So then the next day I woke up and said, you know what? Screw him. Screw him because the thing is this. If I don't do it, then we lose anyway. So
Hmm.
screw him. Either way,
Exactly.
if I don't do anything, we lose. If I do something and we lose, we still lost. But at least I fought. So I
You
kept thinking,
fought. Yeah.
there's a saying by Emiliano Zapata.
Hmm.
I would prefer to die on my feet than to continue living on my knees.
Hmm.
So
Wow. Very powerful.
that's
Yeah.
yeah. I plan to live by that because again, I'm not here to beg the institutions for my rights. I'm going to fight for my rights, whether they like it or
Hmm.
not. One professor told me one day, she was, I just don't like the way you talk to us. Well, you have to understand, we're smart. We're all really smart. We're doctorates. We have our doctors. I said, you know what, doctor, let me correct something. She was, what? I said, you're right. You are smart. In fact, all of you are smart. But guess what? All of us here are smart. That's why we're here. We're in college because we are all smart. Somehow you guys think that you have a monopoly on intelligence, and you don't, because we all have intelligence. We all have agency. So
Hmm.
stop thinking that you're better than us because you're not. At some point, I will get my doctorate. A lot of people behind me will get the doctorate. And guess what? We're going to show you and demonstrate to you that even as a person with a disability, I can achieve my education and get a doctorate just like you. And
Hmm.
then she got offended by it, but I said, I don't care. You see, because here's the thing: at the end of the day, you're a doctor, you're teaching at the school, but you're an employee. You're not a king. You're not a king, so you don't own the school. And because you don't own the king, understand you're an employee. You have to adhere to the law just like the rest of us. So I
Hmm.
don't care that you have a doctorate. You have to respect me as much as I respect you. And when that respect goes away, then don't expect me to kiss your ass because I won't. You
Hmm.
have to respect me as much as I respect you. And
Yes.
they don't like it, but that's exactly the way I feel.
Yeah. No, it's really, and it's very, very tough, honestly. And you are just very strong, and then that's very commendable. And like, your fight is here, and there's gonna be proof of everything. And I don't think, whatever, if you win or you don't win, there's gonna be this has been recorded for us, for history,
Yeah.
for our communities.
Yes.
So that's always gonna be there. But and you kind of answered this again before, sort of. So from your perspective, what was the most sort of revealing or troubling thing you learned about how colleges handle disability, like accommodations, behind like closed doors? Like what was the most like crazy thing you learned, or like you thought, oh my God, like this is very messed up, you know?
What I learned was that again, it was very enlightening to me to discover that um, disability rights discrimination is more prevalent in communities of color. It just
Mhm,
is.
mhm,
I'm not too sure if they get less funding or if they use the funding for other purposes, but in communities of color, it's more evident. It's a lot more evident. And so my thing is, you're a school just like any other school in a white or black or any other district. You get money for this. Why aren't you using it for us? Why do you feel the need to divert the money to other campaigns? Because as a disabled person, I feel I paid my taxes, I paid my dues. I want that money to be used for people like me. So when you decide to divert those funds, that to me is a violation of the law. Because again, 504 is a law. The ADA is a law. You're getting money from the government to protect those laws. So when you divert those funds, to me, you're breaking the law. And so what became pretty evident to me was that um, as some teachers entered the system, they were as they entered the system. It's funny because they were really helpful. They really were like going out of the way to help students with disabilities. But that somewhere along the way, the deans, the professors, the higher ups said, no, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, and they would limit them to the point where 5 years later, yeah, I can't help them. And
mhm,
that was very insidious. It's like, why would you do that? What in what world do you think that benefits you or the school to teach another teacher not to help us? And so, in some instances, they develop this culture where the departments will tell them, well, don't help them. And if they say anything, tell them, well, that's our policy. And this is what they would tell me all the time. That's our policy. So I got into the habit of carrying some documents in my backpack where
mhm,
when they would say that, I would pull it out and say, here. Then I was like, what's this? This is the lawsuit of Payan versus LACCD for you to read. The second is a dear accommodations letter from May of 2023. It's
mhm,
May 19th of 2023. What's this? It instructs you and the campus on what you are required to do for us as persons with disabilities. It requires you because if not, we can sue you. And they're like, what do you mean? I said, that may be your policy. This is a law. When we end up in court, what do you think is going to win? And then they would be like, what do you mean? I said, when I go to court with you, I'm going to present to them that I gave you this on this date and I gave it to you to read. Whether you accept to read it or not doesn't matter. I presented it to you. So when we end up in court challenging your policy and the law, which one do you think is going to win? And then all of a sudden they're like, okay, what would you want me to do? Make the material accessible to me. That's it. Don't give me a PDF or unreadable PowerPoint. Make it accessible to me. Convert it to RTF, convert it to a Word document, convert it to whatever you have to do. Make it accessible to me, and that's it. Well, that's all you have to do is ask. I asked. I asked, but you
mhm.
want to challenge me? If you want to challenge me, then I'm going to come back at you. And then, and then it's funny because they have this epiphany on their face, like, "Oh, okay, well, I didn't know I was supposed to do it." Yes, you are. I can sue the campus because I will sue the campus, but in suing the campus, I also sue you. Then, then it's like, okay, all right, I'll do it.
Yeah. Wow. It's so it and it's and like sometimes a lot of times, what they say is that, oh, like we don't have that like specific thing, we don't offer that. So even that kind of goes to, to my next question, which is, it, a lot of institutions argue that accessibility is a resource issue, not a priority
Mm.
issue. And based on your experience, how do you respond to sort of like that kind of claim? What do you think that it reveals like about institutional values?
Okay, so as I was earning my master's degree, I began a fellowship with a nonprofit called respectability.org. Respectability.org, 85% of their people are disabled, different disabilities, blind, um, wheelchair users, autism, a number of disabilities. And so one of our bosses happened to be an attorney within the Department of Education Office of Civil Rights. And he told me one day, he goes, Roy, when they give you that, tell them that they're full of it because if they if they need more money for accommodations, all they have to do is ask.
Hmm.
All they have to do is ask, and then we'll review it. And if they need the money, we give it to them. That's it. Period.
Wow.
End of story. But they're not asking because again, they know that when they ask, then the Department of Education Office of Civil Rights can say, "Well, we gave you this much money. What did you do with it? What did you do with it that now you're coming back to ask for more?" And then they're gonna have to disclose, "Oh, well, we diverted over
Oh,
here."
yeah. Hmm.
So that's where it comes because again, the money's there. So when they say we lack the resources, no, you have the resources. You're just not using it for what you're supposed to use it. And so
Wow.
we as disabled people, we have to educate ourselves on the system and what they're doing. Because when we don't have the facts on our side, when we don't have the ability to fight them back, they're gonna tell us whatever they want, and we just don't know enough to combat and say, oh yeah, okay, sorry. No, they get the money. And if they need more money, all they have to do is ask for it, period.
Wow. It's this is really enlightening to me, like enlightening to me as someone who I have been discriminated against,
Mhm.
like specifically at the job place. I went to this job thing, like this, I was being trained, I was about to start, and they
Mhm.
told me I could not use my equipment because it was electronic and it was against the policy of the company. Even though I was pretty qualified to do that job, they just said,
Wait, wait. And they said it was against the policy of the company?
yeah, because it's so it's an interpret it was an interpreting job because I'm an interpreter,
Hmm.
and one of their policies that they have was, oh, no electronic devices because of privacy concerns. And I was like, well, I kind of need to have this
Right,
like a note taker or anything just because I cannot use paper. Like
right.
they want people to use paper and to use a shredder and like so that they take hand notes.
Okay.
And
So that's where that's where learning advocacy to be able to tell them that's your policy, but the law is this. You know,
hmm
it requires me to be able to use this. And if you don't believe me, contact the Department of Rehab, and they will educate you on this.
yeah,
Contact the Office of Civil Rights under the Department of Education. They will educate you on this because when you do that, you're opening up yourself to a lawsuit. So let's see which one will prevail, your policy
yeah,
or the law. Because
yeah,
again,
it's yeah, yeah.
these companies they don't know the laws and they just spew out stuff that's not even factual all the time, and that's what aggravates us. So when I challenge them, immediately they're like, "What do you mean?" It's like, "Yeah," and then they go, "You want to sue us?" I don't want to. You're making me. I don't want to have to do anything. The thing is this: understand these are the facts. When you say something to me, I'm going to take it that you think you know the facts. But if I need to educate you, then that's what I'm trying to do.
And
And then
to me it was absurd because